Purple Daily is presented by TCL. No matter what you watch, TCL has award-winning TVs for any budget, any space, all with stunning picture quality. And TCL makes more than just TVs. They offer mobile products, audio devices, home appliances as well. TCL, bringing you joy and simplicity through innovative technology. Learn more at TCL.com. It's Mackey here for Federated Mutual Insurance Company. They've been around for over 100 years, helping business owners maximize the success of their business through risk management tools and resources. It's like having a great offensive line for your business, just thwarting off risks and things that could potentially cost your bottom line. Find out how Federated can help your business by going to federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours.
And coach, I'm okay with what's going on.
I'm going to bring up something I don't ever hear.
That's what I'm talking about.
The game's just finished, but the reaction is just beginning. Welcome to Vikings Vent Line with Mackey and Judd.
All right. Mackey and Judd here. We are live at the Lookout Bar and Grill. The screen's up. Everybody, how about a Vikings victory?
We're
here for a Teddy Bridgewater comeback.
2 in a row.
In a Vikings victory. We are 1500 ESPN. We are live every Sunday here. Right after Vikings games are over. We've had 3 sweats down to the final whistle the last 3 weeks.
But the
Vikings pull this
enjoyable.
one out, a victory. If you want to chime in via the phones out there in Vikings land, 651-646-8255, 877-615-1500. Also, Hunter has a microphone, so if you're in the crowd here live at the Lookout Bar and Grill, Maple Grove, and you want to chime in, just come on up, and Hunter will give you the microphone, and you can chat with us about what you saw today. But I'll tell you what, okay, Bridgewater, let's just say he looked shaky in the first half, overthrew a wide-open Cordero Patterson. We might as well start with him because he was fantastic in the second half. And that's the second week in a row where even though the offense looked shaky early on, Bridgewater pulls them together, completes big passes down the stretch, and they wind up winning in the fourth quarter, Judd.
And, Phil, the last 2 weeks when Bridgewater's had crucial situations in which he's had to lead the Vikings late in the fourth quarter, at Tampa Bay, he leads them to the game-tying field goal. They win in overtime. He goes 5 of 8 in that drive for 54 yards. Today, in the crucial drive that ended with the Matt Asiata touchdown run and the Vikings taking the lead, 5 of 7 for 64 yards. Interesting that in the first half of this game, we saw the Vikings, in fact, they started with this. 3 of them went to Patterson, took deep shots with Bridgewater. None of them worked. What did we see, though, in the second half? Short passes, intermediate passes, and Chase Ford deserves a ton of credit because he's become a very viable tight end option in an offense. When Rudolph got hurt, you could have said, who are they going to turn to? Chase Ford's a guy they cut, and he has been absolutely instrumental these last 2 weeks.
Who needs Adrian Peterson? Who needs Kyle Rudolph when you have Chase Ford, Jerick McKinnon, and Matt Asiata with 3 touchdowns?
And I like when they use Jerick McKinnon, too. I think that's a good idea.
651-646-8255, 877-615-1500. It's Vikings Vent Line. Not a lot to vent about, but
it's happy
you can
venting.
celebrate today. We'll go to line 1 right now. Tim, you're on Vent Line live at the Lookout Bar and Grill.
All right, Phil, don't get ahead of yourself. There's still plenty to vent on, so
go ahead, Tim.
Get that straight. But first of all, I want to talk about this defense actually now leads the league in sacks after today. Sharif Floyd was getting a lot of pressure up front. And I know we've been a little bit tough on him, how to evaluate him, but last few games he's been really, really good. And I don't know if it's just Zimmer's scheme, but he's looking great. And another thing to vent about, I guess, is Jeff Locke. Jesus, I mean.
Yeah, man. You know what? All right, you know what, Tim, I'll just say this. Thank you for the call because that's a great way. Let's start just real quick. I know it's hard to sit here and nitpick punting in a game where they won.
No, it's not.
But it's like he's a bad punter, isn't he? He's not a good punter.
All I remember is that when I covered this team for the Star Tribune, Chris Cluey was criticized consistently because he couldn't directionally punt. And what's the big deal about having a big leg if you can't directionally punt? And if you can't directionally punt, we'll find somebody that can. What's Jeff Locke done?
I don't know.
They had a touchdown in this game earlier in third quarter where they take a lead, and then Locke comes back and has a terrible punt, and that puts the Redskins on a drive. At the end of the game there, what's he doing? Why is that ball not in play?
Okay,
Why is that ball going in the end zone?
But they won
Tim's
the game,
got a good point.
It's a good point. And we're done. We're not bitching about the punter.
No. But as far as the venting on the defense goes, here's where, to me, this is a very interesting area. This defense, if you want to nitpick them, they don't come out strong enough on a consistent basis, And it seems as if so many times in the last 3 games when they get leads in advantageous situations, they don't respond well. But here's what I don't get about them. Otherwise, Phil, they play really well.
Judd,
there are moments where they play really
Judd,
well.
You've got, all right, I'm going to nitpick you for a second, okay? Mm-hmm. I know that they haven't played great quarterbacks lately, and they've sort of built their defensive numbers up off of quarterbacks that aren't the greatest. Mike Glennon, Kyle Orton, except for the last drives, okay?
Right.
But it's not about the micro with this defense right now. This is a defense that was awful last year. So there's going to still be some awful mixed in there. The macro says coming into this game, they're one of the best third-down defenses in the NFL, and they're one of the best overall yardage defenses in the NFL. Those are huge steps forward.
I agreed with you last week. Against Buffalo, it was an inexcusable final drive. 4th and 20, the Bills convert. And then last week, I agreed with you. The defense played very well. They gave up a late touchdown. And if you allowed that to completely color your view of the defense, I think that was mistaken. But today we had 2 situations where they got leads and gave those leads right back. This is not something that you are going to ever want to become a trend. They're not
the 2000 Ravens, but they're much better than last year.
They are much better than last year, but you can always, if you're Mike Zimmer after games, there have to be areas for you to pick apart, and that's one of those areas is you've got to come out and stop the ensuing drive.
Vikings win. This is Vikings Vent Line, 651-646-8255, 877-615-1500. Jeff, you're on Vent Line. What do you got?
2 observations, guys. First off, I'm really excited for this Viking win, but just because it gets them to 4-5 and it keeps them interesting, you said it best, Judd. Wins, while we want them, they're not as important as seeing your quarterback develop. And I felt like Teddy really developed today, especially after an awful start. And he had a lot of big conversions on third and longs, and it's just something that we've never seen out of Ponder. In fact, I think you said that with this victory, he had over 230 yards and no interceptions, which means he has more games throwing over 230 yards with no interceptions than Christian Ponder. And second, I really like Cordero Patterson. I still think he's going to be a star. I just think that it will take till his 3rd or 4th year just because his routes, again, the deeper routes aren't exactly Bridgewater's strength right now, and he's still learning the nuances of route running. And it, just with him having to deal with all the different quarterbacks and learning a new offense, I think the breakout year for Cordero Patterson will begin next year. Now, I'm not panicking on him. I still think he has a lot of potential going forward. He's probably going to have just about 600 yards this year, which is more than last year, so you'll see him grow, but I still think he's a year away. But other than that, great win.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate the call. What is your theory on deep shot number 2 to Patterson, I think it was, where the defender lost him completely? He is
the one where he was literally just like standing in the open. Yeah.
Bridgewater's pass wasn't great, but Patterson seemed to stop the route. And I don't know if he got blinded by the sun. The weird thing about it is he hesitated, but it wasn't as if he looked back into the sky. So that was a very weird play.
The sun in that stadium plays a factor. Now, this is really inner football stadium. I believe there's a rule in the NFL where new stadiums have to face north and south. Okay. NFL stadiums have to face north and south, so the sun doesn't factor in. But college stadiums don't have that mandate. I'm fairly certain TCF Bank Stadium faces directly east and west. And if not, it's slightly tilted. Certainly not
it's
north
an illegal
and south.
stadium is what you're trying to tell me here. We have an illegal stadium on our hands.
And you've got a low rising, I know they added 10 rows of seats or whatever it was.
Yep.
And it's not just that play. You've seen it a number of times when receivers in the afternoon are going that direction. They look back and they can't see the ball.
We saw it in Gopher
It was a bad pass
right.
by Bridgewater, but I don't think Cordero, if it was a great pass, I still think it conks off his helmet because I don't think he saw the ball.
Viking Vent Line is the show. Lookout Bar and Grill, Maple Grove is the place. Don't forget, folks, Hunter is up here with a microphone. If you have any observations or comments or questions about today's game, step right up to Hunter, and he will give you the mic. Let's go to my favorite caller, I think, on this show. Otis is a close second, but Linda in Wyoming. How are you, Linda?
Hey, Judd, I totally agree with you. As I tweeted that I don't care, Phil, all the stats about how the defense is improving. It's the score at the end. And if the Vikings would have given it up again like they have in 2 other games, all those other stats are meaningless when you can't get a win. And they gave it up twice today, and they finally got the stop. So good for them for being able to get the stop. And like to play at Teddy in the second half, and I guess what I want to vent about is I don't know what in the world Norv Turner was doing in the first half. It's like, okay, this is the kind of quarterback we want you to be, and this is where we think you need to work on it. It didn't work. Second half, oh, well, we'll put our game plan to match your strengths. And then he was fine.
Thank you for the phone call, Linda. Here's the thing: you have to throw the ball down the field. I respect Linda because she brings great phone calls. I disagree on two fronts. You can't blame the defense for the loss against Buffalo. Outside of the last drive, it was bad. When the offense is only scoring 13 or 16 points. If the offense is scoring 13 or 16 points, you're going to lose a lot of games in the NFL. The offense has been the Vikings' biggest problem in their losses for the most part. Now, they give up 42 to Green Bay. I get that on Thursday night. But from a big-picture standpoint, the defense has been much better than the offense overall. Today, the offense took a step forward. As far as Norv Turner, again, it's a rookie quarterback. It's a bad offensive line for the most part. And you're missing Kyle Rudolph, Adrian Peterson. It's so easy to sit here and throw stones at offensive coordinators. But you don't know, is Bridgewater missing open receivers in situations? He's dumping off. Is he not? I mean, on the deep passes, those are passes that a lot of good quarterbacks are making. If he hits the home run ball to Cordero Patterson and the sun's not a factor or whatever, nobody's blaming Norv Turner for a bad scheme in the first half. They score 7 points on that play.
This also comes back to my philosophy, which is, do you want to win games? Of course you do. But do you want to develop Bridgewater? And it's not realistic to not have him throw deep ever and then next season say, now you throw deep. They've got to find out what they have. Does he look comfortable doing it right now? He does not. Do they need to work on it? They do need to work on it, but at least you get that on film, and now you can dissect that. They need to develop him into a quarterback, not a partial quarterback.
It's Vikings Vent Line celebrating a Vikings victory here in Maple Grove at the Lookout Bar and Grill. We are Mackey and Judd. Travis, you're on Vent Line. Your thoughts?
Hey, guys. How's it going? This is my first time doing this.
Awesome.
I just want to say that it was a really good win throughout the whole game. Well, actually, I should say in the second half, it was a lot better to watch it because the first half, it seemed like that both sides of the ball, defense and offense, just weren't there. I go as the team goes. So if they don't feel like that they're into the game, I'm not going to be into the game at all. But I just want to say, though, the second half, it really showed that Teddy Bridgewater matured because the way he was checking down, the way he was throwing the ball and all that, rather than, of course, in the first half, overthrowing Cordell Patterson. But one of the people talking before, they made a good point. It seemed like Patterson wasn't running fast at all. It seems like that he slowed down a bit in my mind because I don't know what's going on with him because he wasn't injured. He was in a walking boot last week. Then he was taken off the injury report. And I don't know what's going on with him, but I know that he needs to mature, and he will mature in the coming years. But I just have to say this was a great win. The defense really stepped up. Anthony Barr, he's making me eat my own words because I was not excited with the pick at number 9, but that guy is an absolute beast.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I know we're 4-5. I know that we're in third place now. Chicago Bears on the bye, but I'm excited. In the next couple weeks, they got 2 divisional opponents coming out with the Bears and the Packers right after that. And this team is maturing. It's maturing, and I know we have some weak spots on the offensive line, but I'm excited to see what they can do.
All right, man. Thanks for the call, Travis. Appreciate you calling.
Good job. If you want to take one thing.
Did you just compliment Travis on a good job calling?
Yeah, it was his first time calling. He's probably a little bit nervous. I said, good job.
I think you're doing a good job today.
Well, he did a good job. Thank you very much.
Yep.
See, and I take that compliment, and I feel so good about myself, and I'm going to stay here after the show. I'm going to watch Broncos-Patriots and drink some beer. And that surprised you to a great degree, I'm sure, Philip. If you want to take one thing that Bridgewater did today and say, okay, besides that, the last touchdown drive he led, what did I see in progress? Snapshot right here. Have you ever seen a worse fourth down pass than late in the second quarter before the Munderland interception?
Yeah, I didn't know what that was.
You had no idea what he's doing, and I'm saying to myself,
he should have just ran the ball because he had a first down in front of him. Yeah.
But you saw that pass, and you said to yourself, oh, my gosh, there's no confidence here. Munderland gets the pick. Bridgewater comes out and looks like a different guy.
Totally.
That, to me, if you want to see progress, not to go back to this guy, but Did you ever see Ponder do that? Did you ever see Ponder throw a pick and then come right back out and be like, I'm fine?
No. And I hate bringing Ponder's name up too, but it's the latest first-round comparison we have here.
Yeah.
And as one of the callers mentioned earlier, this is now the third career game in six outings for Teddy Bridgewater, I think? 6 starts or six big outings.
Yep.
It's now the third time he's thrown for at least 240 yards and no interceptions. Christian did it twice in his career so far to this point.
I love the fact that the kid threw a terrible pass, and I said, what's wrong with him? And then he came right back out and let it drive.
Let's go to Ben. You're on Vikings Vent Line. Ben, your thoughts on a Vikings win?
Hey, guys. I think Teddy Bridgewater took a big step forward today. And, now the Vikings are going to their bye, and they've got a Chicago team right now. They look awful. And they have 3 straight wins at home. This team could definitely could be able to get a couple of victories. But I think the Vikings right now looks like they have a quarterback and a head coach that they can win with in the future. And last year they had neither.
That's a great point, Ben. That's a great point. Thank you for the phone call. And on your Chicago point, all right, this team still has a lot of self-evaluation and things to look in the mirror on. So it's hard to really look at the schedule. But if you do, Chicago's kind of a mess right now. You're going to get Chicago out of a bye, and guess what? Chicago is actually better on the road than at home. So you get Chicago in a place where, for whatever reason, they've been bad at home. In fact, they're winless at home so far this year. And then you get some home games. So the fact that you're going into the bye week 4-5 has to feel so much better for fans and for the team than for a 3-6 record to be on your resume going into the bye when you just know the season's over at that point.
Here's the frightening thing. They could be 5-4 so easily.
Right, with that Bills game.
Yes.
If one
you
play
think about
goes
these last 3 games, and those are, and the thing I take from those games is, okay, they ran the gauntlet. They had a lot go wrong, and they ran that gauntlet of really tough quarterbacks and tough teams, but they should have won the last 3 games. That's pretty good.
It is pretty good. 651-646-8255, 877-615-1500. We have one phone line open right now, so call quick and grab it. We'll get to Matt, Jordan, Tom, and Otis. And also, we're live here at the Lookout Bar and Grill in Maple Grove. We are Mackey and Judd. This is Vikings Vent Line. If you're hanging out at the bar or you're hanging out after the game here and you want to come talk to us, don't be shy. Hunter's got a microphone. He looks creepy with the beard and like the skull cap. He's a sweetheart. Trust me.
He's a little creepy. And you'll get a shirt if you ask a question.
Come on up. Hang out with us. We are Mackey and Judd, and we will return with more Vikings Vent Line after this.
It's your first chance to react to the game. Welcome back to Vikings Vent Line.
4-man rush. Bridgewater with time wide open. He catches it, gets his feet down. Greg Jennings.
Really careful here. This pressure is definitely coming.
To the end zone. Touchdown. Chase Ford.
There was the touchdown to Chase Ford. Vikings win today. They go into the bye week 4-5. Zolgad and Mackey back with you. Viking Vent Line is the show. We're at the Lookout Bar and Grill, as we always are in Maple Grove. Thanks to the folks here from the Lookout for having us on a weekly basis. We certainly appreciate that. Don't forget, if you want to come up and ask a question, you can get a T-shirt from us here at 1500 ESPN.
By the way, let me ask
an observation.
Crowdsourcing question here at the Lookout. Cheer if you think Teddy Bridgewater has shown improvement over the last 2 months. Now, if you would have thrown a pick with like 30 seconds to go, I think it would have been maybe a little different. But it's good to see him in the fourth quarter.
Hey, 4-5. I think we can all agree on this. 4-5 going into the bye week is not too shabby considering the start they got off to. And if I told you in July they're going to lose Peterson and Rudolph and all the stuff's going to go wrong, you would have taken 4-5. Back to the phone lines. Let's go to, is it Matt?
Let's go to Matt.
Matt, go ahead.
Hey, guys. Just wondering, I know we were looking forward to this 4-game stretch after the Green Bay debacle.
Yeah.
We obviously went 2-2. Realistically, is that probably about as good as we thought they would do? I know we had chances in other games, but we also had chances to lose in this game as well. So isn't 2-2 about the best we could expect?
Yeah, but I think the thing with 2-2 is you don't just look at the record. I think you honestly have to take a step back with this team right now and look at the progress that they've made. How has Bridgewater played? The fact that Bridgewater the last 2 weeks has been put in positions to go have his team fall behind and say, okay, kid, you go out there and what can you do? And that he's responded with a very late drive in which he went 5 for 8 for 54 yards and got a game-tying field goal, Phil. And then the fact that he came back today after the Vikings defense couldn't hold the lead twice and went 5 of 7 for 64 yards and orchestrated a touchdown drive. More importantly, in my opinion, for 2014 than the record is what's the progress. And your 2 first-round picks right now are making enormous progress. That's the best news in my opinion.
651-646-8255, 877-615-1500 if you want to call in. We've got somebody here live at the Lookout Bar and Grill. Hunter?
We got Craig.
Craig? What are your thoughts, man?
Well, I had a question on the play where RG3 went into the slide and Greenway went after.
Yes.
And Greenway kind of pulled up. Now, isn't the
Harrison
ruling
Smith.
that you have to slide within like 2 yards of a defender in order to be protected as a quarterback?
I'm glad you brought this up because we have to talk about this. Now, it was Harrison Smith was the safety, and if you watch it, you get a T-shirt for your trouble, sir. Thank you very much for coming up. On that play, RG3 starts his slide, and Harrison Smith is already sort of halfway into the tackling motion, and he's leading with his head, which is dangerous anyways because you're probably, if you go helmet to helmet on a quarterback in that spot, even if he's going head first, they're likely to call it, even though he's a ball carrier, to protect the quarterbacks. Right. But this is why I've been saying for years, and it bothers me the NFL doesn't do this. Why not make those calls reviewable? The NBA allows officials to review flagrant fouls. In fact, it's mandatory. In college, if you get a targeting penalty, remember the Gophers game last week?
It's reviewed. You're thrown out of the game and reviewed.
There was an ejection overturned and a penalty on the first or second play of that game.
Yep.
Because officials go and look, and they deem, okay, well, this is a big enough call. We should go and take a look at it. In that spot, I don't see how the NFL can continue to allow 15-yard momentum-swinging plays to take place without looking and taking a second peek at it. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it'll take you 2 minutes. Go take a look.
Yes, and that is not a 15-yard penalty if you go and look at it. When you saw now, if you're the official on the field and it's a bang-bang play, you see Harrison Smith's helmet leading and you think, okay, I'm throwing my flag, and your mind is made up. Harrison Smith avoids him. Here's my problem with the call on that play and where I think it's extremely dangerous. They are doing quarterbacks a disservice through that rule because everyone in the league is now going to see that play from Sunday, and Harrison Smith avoided him and still got called. And you know what you're going to say next time? I'm going to get called regardless, so bleep it. I'm just going to go into the quarterback. Now, is that smart? No.
Well,
but
I don't know if it's going to if that's going to happen going forward. But if Harrison Smith could have that back in retrospect, he'd say, "Well, if I'm going to get flagged for it, I might as well get my money's worth on this."
But if you're a safety in the first quarter of a game, for instance, right now, and you love to hit guys, and you are also think to yourself, "Okay, so I hit the starting quarterback because I know it's going to be called regardless, and I knock him out literally of the game in the first quarter, so they got to put their backup in." I think you actually help both sides by making that a reviewable play, and then you are rewarded for avoiding the quarterback, which is what Harrison Smith should have been.
But Harrison Smith would get maybe suspended for a game and ejected even if they missed that call on the field.
It'd have to be a multiple offender.
But on that play, he did everything he could, and he barely grazed the quarterback. But in the defense of the officials, at live speed, it's really tough to see that.
That's what I just said. Yeah.
So why not a play that's that huge? It would have been fourth down. It's a close game. It's moving too fast for the human eye to see in that spot, which is another problem with officiating in the NFL. There's just these guys are moving so fast now at 250 pounds. I just don't see why you can't have that reviewable just like they do in the NBA. 651-646-8255, 877-615-1500. Vikings Vent Line at the Lookout Bar and Grill, Maple Grove. Jordan, your thoughts?
Hey, guys, I just got 3 quick hits for you. It was a great game, but what in the world has gotten into Sharif Floyd? He seems like a different player out there. And for Teddy Bridgewater, I just don't get it. Isn't intermediate passes 10 yards to 30 yards harder to hit than a deep ball over 30 yards?
Clearly not for him.
And lastly, do you think there's a chance we can actually get Adrian Peterson back? They said he's going to go through a plea deal. Maybe we can get him back, get him trained up during the bye, and have him against Chicago.
Thanks for the call. Let's work backwards first. Start with Peterson. Peterson, ESPN reports today, they have information that Adrian and his attorney, Rusty Harden, are working on a plea deal down in Texas, which could be completed and entered into as early as Tuesday. Now the question becomes, okay, plea deal's done. Adrian comes back to the Vikings and says, hey, case is done. In this situation, I think what you're going to see, though, is an unprecedented case for this league, and I think what they're going to do is if Peterson enters a plea, that will be tantamount, I would guess, to some form of guilty plea.
Yes.
And so the league can then say, all right, you're back, but now you're suspended. So my guess is the league's going to find a way to continue the suspension. The only question then for me becomes how long.
And, well, it would be 6 games under the domestic abuse umbrella that they just instituted in August. So he'd come back with 1 game remaining in the season. if the plea took place during the bye week. So it remains to be seen. My guess is he doesn't play again for the Vikings this year. Even if he could come back for one game, they'll probably just deactivate him at that point.
Yeah, probably true.
That's my guess.
Bridgewater, how about that one? Because it's a very good point. Bridgewater, for whatever reason, with the intermediate passes, seems really comfortable. And with the long balls, for whatever, he had 5 of them in the first half. And I love the idea. Before we all get down on Norv, by the way,
there's no reason to be down on Norv Turner. It's ludicrous to be down on Norv Turner.
I love the idea, first play from scrimmage, of taking a deep shot. I think that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, you know what? It might work.
Yeah. The offensive coordinator conversation, those guys are putting in so much film study, and they're looking at so many different things and have access to so many different things that we don't, watching from the outside. You can't even begin to critique them properly. And secondly, Darrell Bevell is the ultimate example of an offensive coordinator everybody wanted fired until Brett Favre showed up in 2009, and they scored like 450 points on offense that year. They averaged 30 points a game.
And Darrell was done a huge disservice because Brad tried to be the OC in 2006, Childress, and was a disaster. There are some, I'll say this, if an offensive coordinator is bad, you can rip him constantly because he's bad. Norv Turner is not a bad offensive coordinator. I'll say Norv's not a very good head coach, but as far as an offensive coordinator goes, he's not bad. Sharif Floyd, I think a lot of credit here has to go to coaching. I really do. This guy started off, he didn't have a good rookie year. He started off, I thought, inconsistent, if not slow this year.
That penalty today was something you got to
and he's not.
You got to fix that thing.
And he's not a finished product, Phil, but the credit I give this coaching staff, especially on the defensive side of the ball, think about this. Xavier Rhodes, developing, right? Sharif Floyd, developing. You name me under the previous regime how many defensive players you thought really developed.
Let's go to Tom on line 3. You're on Vent Line.
Hey, guys, thanks for taking my call. I just want to say, Phil, you talk about the human eye can't make that kind of a call. Isn't that what the officials are paid for? I think that 91, the guy with the glasses, needs to get some laser surgery.
Yeah, but I mean, but Tom, like, okay, yeah, well, umpires are paid to get everything right, but there's no human on the planet that can get some of those bang calls right in baseball. So that's why I say help them out with a video review.
I was sitting 7 rows up from there, and I saw it. I saw it live. I turned away. All of a sudden, I see a flag. I thought it was absolutely ludicrous. But I was really calling about Cordero Patterson. I think he needs to make a decision right now if he wants to be either Antonio Brown or if he wants to be Percy Harvin. Because when he ran that deep route, Teddy missed him. He started jumping around and crying like a little baby. And he needs to get committed into running better routes because he just did not get open other than on that play today.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
I agree. I think that Tom just hit on something very important. But this is
Which is that he should be an NFL official and everyone else should be fired?
No, but your point is put in replay. So I think he missed your point. But anyway, back to Patterson for 1 second. Here's what I really like. Last year, the coaching staff looked at Cordero Patterson and said, "Man, you're raw and you don't seem to be committed enough, and because of that, we're not going to play you." This coaching staff says, "Okay, kid, we're going to put you out there. And when you prove that you're not doing it, you're either going to learn from it or you're going to cost yourself millions of dollars down the road." The approach of this coaching staff when it comes to Cordero Patterson is so much smarter because instead of saying, on Wednesday and Thursday, you're not practicing very well, so we're not going to play you. We're not going to develop you. You're a first-round pick. You've got to find out what you have with this kid and what he wants to do with his career. It's that simple.
Back here at the Lookout Vikings Vent Line, question from the crowd.
We got Carol from Maple Grove.
Carol, what's your question?
Hi, Carol.
Hi. Hey, now that the Vikings have been victorious for the last 2 weeks, do you think that the bye week will be a help or a hindrance?
Teams, I think it's regardless of if they lost or won, I think the fact that the bye week isn't in week 4 or week 5, players hate an early bye because they just got done with an off season, went to training camp. They like the bye right around week 8, week 9, week 10 here. So it's a perfectly placed bye just in general is what players and coaches would tell you. But I think ultimately you're deep enough in the season where even if you didn't have a bye this week, if you lose this game, 3-6 means you're pretty much cooked in the NFL because you have to run the table or maybe lose one game the rest of the way. So now you go into the bye and you get an extra week to prepare for a road game against a division opponent. So you get that extra week to take a Chicago team to task on film that hasn't been very good. So to answer your question, it's a well-placed bye for a number of different reasons, I think.
And
yes.
I love the bye week for this team in particular, and here's why. If this was a really good team or a hot team and you're thinking, You don't want the momentum to go away. But look at what this team is. This team should have won its last 3. It's won its last 2, but it's a young, developing team. This gives the coaching staff a chance to unplug from the day-to-day stuff and sit back now and do what they call a self-scout all week. And there's nothing more important right now for the 2014 Vikings than to scout themselves. Opponents don't matter as much as they do. So Turner and Zimmer and those guys, they can break down the defense, what's gone right, what's gone wrong. They can break down Bridgewater, which will be huge. I can almost guarantee you that Teddy Bridgewater will not leave. He might take a day or 2 off, but for the most part, this kid's dedicated. He's going to stay here and learn. I think for this team in particular, it's a perfect buy.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Great question.
Let's do this. We've got Otis and we've got Randy in Cottage Grove to get to, 2 of our favorite Vent Line callers. And we got a couple open phone lines, 651-646-8255, 877-615-1500. We are hanging out at the Lookout Bar and Grill in Maple Grove. The Vikings have emerged victorious. They are 4-5. The season moves on. Teddy Bridgewater showing some improvement in the second half. We'll get to plenty more in this next chunk of Vent Line when we come back.
Vikings Vent Line.
5-man rush, and down goes Griffin. Chad Greenwood with the sack. 44-yard line, Robert Griffin leading the offense. He's set to throw. On the move now. Pressure coming. He's going to go down at the 40. Brian Robinson. He's been getting close all season long.
Man, yeah, the Vikings are just, they're getting after it, man. Their defense is just making quarterbacks run for their lives the last few weeks. Vikings Vent Line here at the Lookout Bar and Grill in Maple Grove. We got time for a few more callers here. Let's go to Otis, who's been holding. Otis in Vegas. Your thoughts, Otis?
Hey, how you doing?
What's going on, man?
What's up, Otis? How are you?
Not much. I don't know if I'm more shocked about all the penalties the Vikings gave up today, or with Judd saying that I'm the second favorite. I don't know.
The caller power rankings are out. We have a committee that we have to start seeding these.
Come on, man. You're always a solid caller. What you got for us?
I'm joking. But, yeah, with the penalties that we gave up today, I mean, I was thinking coming into this season, because we gave up so many last year, that with Zimmer and head coach, we wouldn't be, getting as many penalties as we are. But that's just something that I hope they'll like to clean up sometime in the future. I mean, it almost cost us a game today.
Yeah, thank you for the phone call, Otis. Yeah, there was a couple in there, too. That penalty on Sharif Floyd where he basically took a forearm to the head of RG3, that's easy to clean up. There was a few illegal contact penalties after 5 yards on wide receivers. Sherrill's had one.
Munnerlyn
I believe Munnerlyn had one.
Yep.
And those are sometimes, again, you can lose track of where you are. Maybe you're 7 yards and you're still being physical. I like that they're trying to be physical with receivers, but you got to know where you are.
Yep.
Let's keep going here. Howard, you're on Vent Line.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
What's up, Howard?
I'd like to vent about. One thing is the NFL officials. Harrison Smith doesn't touch a guy, and he gets roughing. I mean, come on. He went over the top, didn't make contact. Second thing, I'm going to vent about Spielman. It'd be nice if you want to keep your quarterback alive to get a left guard, someone who's not a piece of clay. Those are the two things that are bothering me out of today's game.
I'll add to the left guard. It'd be nice if they could get a left tackle, too, but it seems like that Matt Khalil conversation's been a theme every week, and there was a couple plays where you could definitely point a finger at him today, too.
I'll tell you this right now, and I've been saying this for weeks, and I still contend, if I'm Rick Spielman and I'm Mike Zimmer, my biggest concern is about what's happened to this offensive line. And I've been harping on it, but it's the one place where you can't just go out during the bye week and say, Matt Khalil's not playing well, so I'm going to go get a left tackle.
Right.
They don't exist. The trade deadline has passed. There's no way to get a left tackle.
And no one's trading good left tackles.
This offensive line, John Sullivan at center is probably being given somewhat of a raw deal because it's guilt by association right now. But the play of the two tackles and at times the guard play is unacceptable. And Teddy Bridgewater, it's a shame that you watch a quarterback, finally a Viking quarterback who is young and wants to stay in the pocket and work from the pocket. And some of the sacks that Teddy took today were on Teddy. He needs to read things quicker, but there are times he's not getting a fair shake at all, and it's because the offensive line just continues to be way too inconsistent and shaky.
Dennis, you're on Vent Line.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Hey, before I make a quick point about the defense, I just wanted to, I heard after the game that Matt Asiata from his 3 touchdowns and 2-point conversion, leads the league this year. I think it was running backs in points scored or something, some strange statistic like that. I was very surprised.
And
at
of course,
that.
they're all on
Phil?
Chris Long's fantasy football team too.
Phil,
He
care to
just
address
destroys me today.
Care to address this problem?
Yeah, I don't know. You might be right on that. He has a lot of touchdowns. He has 2-3 touchdown games already this season, doesn't he? So
I believe so. Yeah. The point I wanted to make was about Chad Greenway. I think he improved. I think in the second half, as I think the whole defense did. But in the first half, where he missed that sack on RG3, and you guys know, is he at full strength yet, or is he still playing injured, or what's your feeling?
Thanks, Dennis.
I would guess coming off hand, wrist, and rib problems that there's no way he's at full strength.
No, he probably isn't.
There's no way. But Dennis brings up a great point, Phil. That was inexcusable when they had Greenway and Everson Griffin, who had a great game for the most part, had Robert Griffin III dead to rights. They had the sack, and they both missed him. And Griffin, who can do this, made a play with his feet. But that's a play you have to make.
Greenway looks like he's 45 years old out there.
I think he's just beat up. I think he's beat up. The question is he so beat up that his career is coming to an end, or does he need to get healthy? I can't tell.
Programming note for Jonathan back in the studio. We're going to take one more phone call, and then we can roll with the credits here. Let's go to Randy in Cottage Grove. You're on Vent Line, Randy.
Oh, goody.
Yeah, guys, this was huge, okay? I was here. I'm just waiting for a party bus with a bunch of us other guys, but we had a blast. We went to the game on a bus. Number one, I got 3 studs this game. Number one goes to the crowd. Our guys were into it, and the crowd fed them all game, okay? Number 2, Asiata. I told you guys weeks ago, look out for this kid, feed the beast. Oh, they fed him. 3 touchdowns. That's what happened.
Yeah,
and
true.
Number 3, the Vikings didn't just beat the Skins this week. They beat the refs, too. They beat the Zebras, too. That was horrible. I'm going to take a look at the tape, figure out what's going on with those deep balls from Teddy. But you rest assured, guys, we're going to be 500, and we're A-OK. Skol!
I thought he didn't look at the tape of wins.
Did he just slam the phone down?
He's waiting for a party bus, so he probably dropped his cell phone. He's so drunk.
I wanted to know if the party bus was still rocking.
Well, of course it is, but I thought he didn't look at the tape of wins he said last week. I thought he only looked at losses.
That guy's weird. That guy's got some psychological issues, but I'm glad he calls Vent Line.
They beat the refs. I love it.
The music's rolling, but we can take your question off the air, and we'll give you a T-shirt too.
Yeah, you want a T-shirt?
We'll be back here at the Lookout Bar and Grill, Maple Grove, next Sunday. In 2 Sundays from now, because after the bye week for the Chicago game. So come hang out with us. Our show is from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Mackey and Judd, plenty more on Vikings, plus a lot to get to in the Twins managerial department. Paul Molitor is going to be the guy, and the Cubs made a bold move on Friday. So Vikings and tons to get to 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock tomorrow. Please join. If you missed Vent Line, check it out on the SportsWire, 1500ESPN.com, and also SoundCloud.com/1500ESPN.
4 and 5, not bad.
That's not bad. It's better than 3 and 6. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good talk.
He's an impressive background. But Matt Asiata's been the touchdown man, and there he goes into the end zone for the Vikings. Matt Asiata, and he's got another Viking touchdown.